Now I feel like I'm stepping into my power, constantly learning new things, and I want to help other women find their own strength, no matter where they are in their journey. Hey guys, this is Jess Dowd, and I would like to welcome you to the Girl, Do It Yourself podcast. I'm passionate about all things creative, from DIY and home design to motherhood and self-love. I'm a mom of 3 boys, a small business owner, and a creative. And after overcoming some struggles, I ventured into DIY, power tools, and design projects in the place of therapy, basically. And I'm here to encourage and inspire other women to pick up the tools, do the hard things, and figure this crazy life out as best we can along the way. So join me for relatable stories, inspiration, and a dash of humor on design, DIY, motherhood, growth, mindset, and more. Buckle up, because my ADHD is about to take us on a wild ride. You're listening to the Girl, Do It Yourself podcast, episode 1. In this episode, I am going to introduce myself, Jess Dowd, as well as answer a Q&A about how I have found the courage and confidence to start into DIY and home projects, and what I recommend you do to start as well. Well, guys, thanks for being here for my very first episode. I'm really excited, but I gotta be honest, I definitely started this podcast on a whim, which is also very much my style. But it also feels like the right next step for me. And if you're interested in things like design, DIY, motherhood, growth, mindset, and just being a badass female, well, then you're in the right place. I will be starting out with some Q&As from my Instagram, and then I will be bringing on some cool and inspiring guests to interview while talking about all the little things in between the big moments. So I am currently in a season of rediscovery and navigating self-growth, which started after I struggled a lot with postpartum depression after I had my 3rd son. Since then, I've started a product-based business, learned how to use power tools, taught myself how to complete the design projects that I had previously existed in my brain until I could rope my husband into helping me. Now I feel like I'm stepping into my power, constantly learning new things, and I want to help other women find their own strength, no matter where they are in their journey. So before I go into the list of titles and accomplishments, I want to first come to you from a very vulnerable place, so you can do that as well. I want the time you spend with me on this podcast to feel like 2 friends sitting at the kitchen table together, sipping on a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you prefer. And so with that being said, most days I don't feel very accomplished or a person with any special knowledge. Imposter syndrome sets in, and I actively have to stop myself from lowering my own value. And if you're familiar with that, then let's work on it together while we talk about the things that we are struggling with or that we're excited about. Anything from my most recent HGTV show I'm drooling over, or the most crazy thing my kids just did. I also wanted to be able to reach deep into my heart and expose that rawness that we try so hard to hide from, because sometimes that is the easier option. But as I transition into a new phase of my life after having kids, since we're about 99% sure we are done, I want to not only refine myself, but also redefine myself, and hopefully inspire you to do it along with me. I have played a very specific role over the past 6 years, but as my youngest gets older and is now over 2, my role for my kids is changing, and it's allowing more time and space for me to look deep and set new standards and boundaries while finding where my path is going to take me. So if that resonates with you too, then I hope we can be virtual friends through this journey, and I hope I can hit on topics that are relatable and inspire you. So running through the list of personal items quick. So I started with art studio and archaeology in college. I did the archaeology thing through grad school until I realized it was going to be very hard to get a job doing what I actually wanted, and plus it didn't pay very well. So I joined the Air Force as an intel analyst and did that for about 7 years. I slowly transitioned out of that role into a content creator on Instagram after moving across the country with my husband and 5-month-old son, and I eventually worked as a social media manager for a massive startup company. We then moved back across the country and got in way over our heads on a full-blown house rehab and renovation while I was pregnant with my third son. During all of this time, my husband and I would DIY our way through house upgrades and design projects that has earned us, as well as saved us, thousands of dollars in real estate sales over the past 10 years. I have always been creative, and deciding an art studio degree would be a good idea was not my finest moment. It has technically never actually gotten me a job. However, it's been super helpful in the many DIY and design projects I've worked on in our houses over the past 10 years, most recently being the head designer on our 1850s farmhouse renovation, in which we tore down the walls to the studs, replaced the studs, along with pretty much everything else in the house, redesigned the entire floor plan, and made a profit when we sold it. So now, the last piece to this puzzle is the story of how I got to the point of deciding it was time for me to start using the power tools and doing the projects myself rather than waiting for my husband to have a free weekend. And that came after my third son was born. And I struggled a lot with postpartum depression and a complete loss of identity. Like drinking way too much wine every single night kind of depression. And so, in true Jess fashion, I launched a product-based business selling drinkware products with inspirational designs on them. And I also started doing my own DIY projects in our now mostly renovated house. I got over my fear of power tools, and the strength and the self-empowerment I found with bringing my ideas into being by myself was honestly life-changing. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely had some help, and I also definitely messed up a lot. But that was all part of the process. And what it taught me was, aside from a few catastrophic mistakes, everything else can be fixed. Now, it might require some extra time and energy and maybe money on your part, but there is always a solution. And this was the final mindset shift I needed to start projects like accent walls while my husband was still at work and surprising him with newly painted cabinets after walking in the door. Have you been looking for a new solution to help you meet your nutritional goals? Well, AG1 is a comprehensive nutrition and gut health in one simple scoop. So I started using AG1 about 3 months ago because my physical health is something I have been wanting to get back under control since having kids. I could feel how drained I was, and knowing with 1 scoop of powder in 8 ounces of water every morning, I'd be able to fill most of the nutritional gaps I was missing, I was sold. So a couple of other things AG1 can help is promoting gut health with pre and probiotics, supporting immune health with vitamin C, zinc, and functional mushrooms, boost energy, which I have seen because I haven't needed an afternoon pick-me-up as often, and when the original reason it was created, which was to help with post-workout recovery. Now, I will say it definitely does not taste like a cool glass of sweet tea because it is still a green drink. However, it is truly not bad. And the results and the benefits are just so worth it. So with the link in my show notes, you can check out their website, and if you order a monthly subscription, which comes with 30 servings in a single pouch and a free starter kit, which is a premium jar and a shaker bottle, you can also get a free vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. So my final answer to how to build up your confidence or courage, I guess, might be to not overthink it and to start with something relatively simple and just get started. Make your design decisions, pick out the materials you need, whether it be paint or wood, and just start. Because honestly, when I try to make sure I have every single detail ready down to the smallest part of the project, it becomes too overwhelming, and then I put it off or I just don't do it. If I get my overall idea ready and get started, it usually evolves a little over the course of the project, and I cannot even take a guess at how many times we have made trips to Lowe's and or Home Depot, sometimes both, on the same day. because you're learning and you're figuring it out and you're YouTubing the crap out of how to hang floating shelves and deciding which version feels like the one you can wrap your head around and actually complete. But once you complete that first project, something in your brain will just shift, and all of a sudden you look at your house differently, and you can't stop seeing all these other projects that you can tackle. I also use Pinterest all the time. I keep a very organized, room by room inspo board, probably one of the most organized aspects of my life, and I take my time deciding on things like paint colors, stain colors, and eventually it all just ends up sort of coming together. And that's what I love about DIY, is you can do it on your own schedule, at your own pace. You gain new skills, new perspectives, and self-confidence from doing something that you didn't actually think you ever would or could. And now it's time for the She's Savvy takeaway. If you're wanting to do a project in your home but don't know where to start, head over to Pinterest, start a new board, and begin adding pins to it that you are drawn to or that inspire you. Seeing a visual like this all in one place can help you feel more prepared and start to bring a cohesive look to the design. So, to wrap up this first episode, I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about me and how I got to where I am. If you don't already, feel free to follow me at Jessica Gracefully and Girl Do It Yourself podcast on Instagram and Facebook. I'll link those in the show notes. And I am really excited to see where this podcast goes and where it can take me. I hope you were inspired or learned a little something about home design and DIY. I'm also putting together an online course right now as we speak called the DIY Home Design Lab, which is going to be a roadmap to walk you through making some of the core decisions of design, getting started in DIY, mindset, color theory, budget and planning, project inspiration, and so much more. So keep an eye out for that, and I will be updating the release date on all of my platforms. So I hope you have an amazing week, and remember, be brave enough to be bad at something new. And if you decide to try something new, hit me up, let me know. Find me on Instagram or shoot me a message through the podcast, because that's what this is all about. Thank you so much for tuning into the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. Until next time, stay creative, girl, and remember, you can do it yourself.